Good evening and welcome back in, everybody. It is Friday, November 21st, the year 2025. We are watching some really wild times in the United States of America. We're getting ready to go into next week's Thanksgiving week. A lot of people are planning to travel, and I'm going to give you a heads up. Travel is going to be one of those times that people who are looking to predate on people who are not in the area, usually that's when they're going to attack. So you're going to see a lot more pickpockets. You're going to see a lot more social attacks. You're going to see more unrest in the streets. Just watch out, everybody. You are going to want to have your alert higher next week than you have last week. Hey, Desmond, how are you? I hope you're doing well over there in the north. All right, guys, so let's get into some things tonight. We are going to do some live viewer call-ins here in just a couple of minutes, but I do want to catch up on some things that have been happening across the world, including this video from Bangladesh in which they had a giant earthquake. Really horrible situation for the people over there in Bangladesh. There have been a lot of fatalities attributed to that. Here's Scott Bessent discussing that when we see Trump move in on Venezuela, that is when we will see the United States experience lower oil prices.
I am very confident about job growth and the momentum that we've got for next year. And I think what it is going.
You're on the air with Full Spectrum Survival. How are you?
Brad, TVT calling back from Florida again. How you doing?
Hey, doing good. How are you? You're in the kind of the Sarasota, Tampa Bay area, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, nice. How are things going?
Things are quiet. Unfortunately, I'm seeing some people, on public housing losing their housing and things like that. So things are getting more difficult around here.
Now, I've got something was completely new to me that I just learned in the last couple of days, and that's that Section 8 housing recipients, the voucher recipients, are able to apply for a certain type of mortgage that allows their Section 8 housing rent that they have paid to roll over into the mortgage. Now, that to me is a subsidized mortgage. That means you and me, the taxpayers, are in effect paying for their mortgage. Did you know that?
Yeah, I'm aware of that. I've been aware of that for quite some time. I've worked Section 8 public housing, so I'm familiar with their situations and things like that. And regardless, any American on the street is unfortunate, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that 100%. I do know, and unfortunately, we do see a lot of fraud because we've allowed a system to be set up that just breeds that, right? We've allowed a system to be put into place that makes it so that it's harder for a low-income taxpayer to get by than it is from somebody who chooses to not be in the system. Would you agree with that?
I'm kind of on the sideline with my opinion. Okay. I like to keep that to myself.
Okay.
I know there's people in a lot of fragile situations out there, which I respect, and that's part of my mentality to keeping myself safe and everyone else around me.
Yeah, that's good. I think it's good to take kind of the middle line there. I do know that Florida just experienced a little bit of an immigration enforcement wave. Did you see any ICE in your area?
I have.
Okay.
I've heard of some arrests. A few people about. Yeah, so I think there is a crackdown out there now. Personally, do I know anyone? No.
Yeah,
but
right.
Have I seen it? Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Hey, Billy Bit, thanks so much for the super chat. Nice sweater. Hey, I appreciate it. It's an Amazon special. Okay, so Tampa Bay, what has you calling in tonight?
I had just wanted to call you back and kind of, be a part of the show and say thanks for all your information and looking forward to the rest of the show.
Oh, I appreciate it. Okay, thanks for calling in and checking in from the south part of the United States.
All right.
Have a good night. So Desmond is one of our moderators there on the channel. How are you doing tonight? Hope everything's good with the family up there. We're going to go ahead and open back the live shows. PA native. Yeah, I didn't kind of want to say anything about location, but definitely watching the north up there in Pennsylvania. All right, let's get back to what Besant was saying we might begin experiencing.
To take is for people to see, the president has done, I keep saying peace deals, trade deals, and tax deals. So we did the one big beautiful bill in July, and we are seeing a CapEx boom thanks to that. Historically, capital expenditure is always followed by job growth. The peace deals, we are seeing a peace dividend from that, and I think there's a very, very good chance that if something happens with Russia, Ukraine, if something happens down in Venezuela, that we could really see oil prices go down even more. And oil.
Now that to me sounds like the Treasury Secretary maybe knows a little bit more than he is alluding to. I think that just like when we saw President Trump make those moves on Iran at Israel's behest, they kind of wanted to keep it all secret. Now we just did today see a no-fly zone go over the Venezuelan area. They basically alerted all airlines, you do not want to be flying in this area because we are going to be doing some sort of strategic activity. When they put up these no-fly alerts or, pilots beware alerts to the airline industries, that is sometimes an indicator that they are going to make a military move, because the last thing that Donald Trump or anybody else would want is for the, to catch heat, because what got mixed up in the middle of this was some crazy criminal or the U.S. military accidentally shooting down one of the, a civilian plane. So we might see something like that come in the next couple of hours or days. But if you are looking at the futures of the United States of America, just watch oil. You're on the air with Full Spectrum Survival. How are you?
Hey, Brad, how you doing? This is Jim.
I'm doing good, Jim. How are you?
Oh, not bad. I just want to tell you a story about what happened to me. I'm a diehard prepper. I'm 52.
Nice.
Live in Jacksonville, Florida, and I thought I was well prepped until my pump went out for my well.
Okay.
That total whoop, was not prepared for that. I now got it fixed, but now I'm thinking, do you think it's smart if I buy another pump, or I don't know what to do in this situation.
Okay, so you have a well pump. How deep are you?
400 feet.
Okay, that's decent. That's what I am here at the South Appalachian. We're 400 and some feet deep. We have, I've always used Hallmark brand pumps. I have no affiliation with them, but they're on Amazon and they're pretty inexpensive. You can get a 1.5 horsepower to a 2 horsepower pump for around the $200 to $300 range. Did you put the last one in yourself, or did you have a well guy come out and do it?
I had a well guy come out and do it because my pump runs off 110.
Okay.
Which works perfect for my solar system.
Okay.
My solar panels.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, that works perfect. And majority of the pumps I've been looking at are always 240 plus.
Okay. We did have a viewer call in just a couple of days ago who said he runs a 110 pump. If anybody in the chat right now remembers what the name of that pump system, he said it was like a cheap Chinese pump, but it was capable of putting out a massive horsepower. Let me see if I can just do a quick Amazon look while we're looking here. Shallow well, no, we need it to be a deep water. What kind of water do you have? Do you have sulfur or any other impurities, or you have a pretty good pump or a pretty good well?
Pretty good well.
Nice. That's awesome. When we lived in the Manatee County area on a well, we had so much sulfur that anytime you ran hot water, you thought someone was boiling eggs in the house. It was pretty hard.
Oh, ours is just slight. Like when we first bought the house here, and thank God it's all paid off, so I have no debt. But
awesome. When
we bought the house, the wife freaked out because she never dealt with well water because we came from New York.
Okay.
And my family had well water.
Yeah.
So I was like, I was used to it, but it wasn't that bad. But now she's used to it and nothing matters. The sulfur was so small not even funny, but I got a water purification system on it anyway.
Awesome. Yeah, we had to, the sulfur was so bad where we were at that we had to pump it up into a spray, like a 150 to 200 gallon spray tank, and had a head on it that would spray out the water into this tank. And that would let some of the sulfur,
Oh, the aerated.
yeah, aerosolize. And then we took it from that tank into another holding tank that went through an active charcoal filter and a bleach filter, or a bleach injection system, and then finally into the house, and it still smelt like rotten eggs. So we were dealing with it right there. You've got sulfur up there. I didn't remember you having too much sulfur up there in Pennsylvania, Desmond. Yeah, think about those systems that run it out. Okay, so I'm on Amazon, Jim, and I see Hallmark Industries has a 1-horse, 110 volt. What horsepower was your pump? Do you know?
2.5.
2.5. Okay, that might be where you get into a little bit of a pricier issue is with the higher horsepower. Yeah, 1/2 horse, 110 is kind of, they try to flip up to 220 when you get up to the 2 horsepower. I've got 1.5 might be where you get. What are your plans for getting that well working again?
No, it's working now, but I'm trying to think of a backup. All I want is a backup to a backup. I've got backup generators, backup solar generators, backup solar panels. I back everything up. I've been following you.
Nice. Yeah, 2 is 1, 1 is none, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I would suggest at this price point, even if you just get a 1 horse, I would suggest that's $149 on Hallmark Industries on Amazon. I use Hallmark for my pumps. I would suggest grabbing that as a backup for $150 and then setting yourself up with some sort of wench system near your well where you come up over the top of the well house and you can pull a wire up over that tall enough to bring your pump and your tubing up. Do you have PVC or do you have kind of like the soft blue or black tube down to your well pump?
My pump is buried. Mine is an impeller pump. So it's a solid metal pipe that comes up from my well.
Oh, solid metal pipe. Wow. So it must come in sections then to be 400 feet deep.
Yep.
Okay, so maybe get that, and chat, you guys tell me if you have a different idea there, but maybe get that 1 horsepower pump and 400 feet of poly tubing. It's agricultural and potable water tubing. And if you have that on hand, you're probably looking at a $300 to $400 total investment, including the pump. You would be able to bring the old one up in a long duration emergency and disconnect the metal, reconnect the poly tubing, and put a new pump down there without having to call a well guy out if you were in a position where you couldn't.
I appreciate it. That's why I wanted to talk to you so bad.
Okay, yeah. That's what I would do because that's the same thing we have here. I have a backup well pump and backup tubing just in case something goes wrong. Now, remember, you're going to have to get the underwater wiring, the 110 wiring to go with it. They sell that too. It's pretty inexpensive. And just be prepared to, have somebody come if you can't do it yourself to hook up the electricity to it, and you'll be back in business. So that would be my general idea.
My next quick question.
Sure.
I asked the guy who came, and I said, how much to dig a new well?
Okay.
He said over $10,000.
That's a little bit pricey. Do you know what kind of earth you're going through? I mean, you're in Florida, so it shouldn't be too much more than sandstone.
That's pretty much it. I mean, I got deep soil, which is good. So my garden, I'm still growing eggplants right now.
Nice.
So,
awesome.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and I think 6,500 would get you just about there. And tell whoever you have come out that you're looking, about how deep it's going to have to go without some really good luck, and that you're looking for the price per foot that gets you to about a $6,500 well at 400 feet deep with at least a 2 to 4 gallon per minute refill rate. And you got to, well digging is kind of like, we've made well diggers rich in this country because we let them get away with kind of a scam where they don't have to guarantee you water, but they throw these huge bills up and you might never get a good well, but they still want you to pay 10 grand. So you kind of have to get somebody who's been in the business long enough to know that you're just not willing to throw money at garbage. And you could probably get another 400 footer done for around $6,500. My personal opinion is always look at the truck of the guy who's coming out. If he's got a brand new F-350 that he's just riding out as his personal truck, he's probably not the guy you want to go to. If he's driving a nice used truck, he's probably the one who will make a deal with you.
The guy that came was in a used truck, typical like me. No offense to anybody, but redneck, good old boy.
And still 10 grand, huh? Yeah, that's wild that he still wanted 10 grand for that. I would just shop around, see what else you can get. Now, some of the boys will come from multi-state, so you'll get Georgia boys who will come to you, Alabama, even Louisiana guys who will come to you. So I would just put some calls in and see what you can do.
I appreciate it.
Hey,
thank you so much.
No,
Brett.
thank you for calling in. I appreciate you.
Hey, you have a great night.
Thanks, you too. Yeah, guys, you let me know down in the comments what you think about. Do you think that having a backup well is important? I saw a couple of people talking about, somebody said I'd charge him 20 grand. Yeah, that's it. It's expensive. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's expensive to buy the machine to do a well. You're on the air with Full Spectrum Survival. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Brad?
I'm doing real good. What part of the country are you calling in from?
Concord, North Carolina, right outside of Charlotte.
Okay, so you probably, your local news has been discussing the immigration raids, I'm sure.
Oh yes, that's all everybody is talking about across all classes.
What's your personal take on the need for the immigration enforcement and how it's being played out?
The need for it is definitely there. Charlotte especially, it's just full of.
Oh, I lost you there. I lost you at full of. So either the internet wasn't in liking what you were saying, or I dropped connection.
Prime it for 10 years ago. So it definitely needs to be happening. Now, I think the implementation, I think that could lead to some worse things for all of us down the line if it doesn't get pulled back, but that's just my.
No, I agree with the same thing. I have never in my life and in study of history, I have never seen power go backwards. Power always needs more power, and they're always pushing further. I mean, just look at our taxes. The taxes never get any better. They always get worse. Tax enforcement always gets worse. Policing always gets less quality and worse. So I do think that we do need this, but I'm afraid of the way they're going about it and what that's going to bring to us next year.
Yeah, next year, or just even a couple of years down the line, if it doesn't, again, like I said, get pulled back somehow, I don't see good things coming from military staying in our streets for the foreseeable future.
Now, since you're boots on the ground in North Carolina, I've seen a lot of people online report that the restaurants are kind of cleared out. The streets are kind of cleared out. Have you experienced that? Does it look like there's less people around or no?
Definitely. So, I actually run a martial arts school. So I get to see tons and tons of kids, parents, teenagers, and hear all their opinions on everything too. And, today, just in our county, there was a big student protest. So I believe over 30,000 kids didn't show up for school.
Wow.
In the last couple of days in protest. Whether it's in protest or whether their parents are just telling them to stay home, I'm not sure. But either way, that's what I've heard. And the roads going into Charlotte, I mean, it's a night and day difference. That is 100% true. There is zero traffic.
That's so interesting to me because that means one of two things. it can only mean that either there are so many more illegal immigrants than we are being told about, or the general population is just too concerned that they will also be targeted.
I, you know, I can agree. I can see both, but I really think it's the first thing you said. I think there is such a big problem here, and I'm sure it's everywhere else too. But I get to experience myself here again. Just in my martial arts school community, the ratios are definitely leaning towards it's primarily Latinos.
Okay.
Um,
We saw the same thing.
and
We moved away from Florida for 2 years, had to go back and do some family stuff. And just in 2 year blips of moving away and then having to go back and take care of some things. So being kind of semi in the area for a couple of months at a time and then moving away and having to come back for a couple of months for family stuff. I saw the exact same thing. It went from and if you just look at the radio and what's available on AM and FM, it went from almost no Spanish to 60% Spanish just in the radio.
oh wow.
And that was in the Tampa Bay area of Florida, a little bit more North Florida also. So I think that was a very similar experience to what was happening in multiple states around the country. Now you're in martial arts, like you said, which is a great thing to have a business in, and it's a great thing for people taking part. Do you have any kind of pointers for people who have never gotten into martial arts that are just looking for self-defense? Do you have anything that you can give to them?
I think my basic self-defense. First of all, this is all I've ever done as kid, adult. It's my father's family business.
Awesome.
So I like to think I'm pretty good and be able to defend myself, but I'm carrying right now.
Right.
Got knives in the car. I get all over the place, pepper spray. That is the last thing I'm going to be using. As far as hand-to-hand combat, learn how to throw some decent punches, good elbows. Learn what to do if you do get knocked down to the ground. If you knew those couple things.
Okay.
I think that's important. Learn how to throw a really, really good straight punch, accurate elbows if you're in closer, and then know how to deal with. I'm not saying fight on the ground. We're not really a proponent in that. You want to get back up on your feet, have the option to get out of there.
Right.
But you have the know-how of what to do. And I think the biggest thing is doing some sort of training so you're mentally prepared to you're going to go into that fight or flight, and if you get hit once or twice, people get stuck in between that, and that's what when a beatdown happens, you just get stuck in between that fight or flight, and then you do nothing. And so having yourself mentally prepared of either I'm gonna okay, I see the opportunity, I'm gonna get out of here, or you're all in, or a believer, and you gotta match violence with more violence in order to protect yourself.
Yeah, I unfortunately got in too many, brawls, I guess I'll say, fights in growing up. In the area I lived in, you had to learn how to defend yourself. And then I was like, well, I'm never going to let these things happen again. And so I took my own business into my own hands. And what I saw with a lot of people was that if you've ever chased a chicken, a chicken is real good at running, but then they just give up. And I see the same thing with people if they're not prepared for that fight. And you have to kind of treat every fight. If somebody's laying their hands on you, you have to treat every fight like that person may go to the extent of taking your life. Would you agree with that?
Yep. I would 100% agree with that. You got to choose who it's going to be. If it's you or if it's the other guy, I'm choosing me every time.
Yeah, right.
I'm choosing me, my wife. I'm choosing my family. There's no, and it just having that again. I think the mentality is also a big part of it. Of even if you just think through it, consistently knowing what you're going to do, you got to be able to back it up with some training, but the mentality is a big part of it, because I've seen that happen too many times. People get stuck between that fight and flight
Okay.
and just face the freeze.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
You know, especially people that have never been hit or never been in a fight.
Yeah.
If you've never been in a fight, never been hit, you're going to be just shocked.
Yeah.
when it
For
first
me,
happened.
my own mentality just always had to be, I'm going to get hit, I'm going to get hurt, and that's just the way it is.
Yep.
And so if
And
you
that's
you take that power away, well, then it just comes down to who can win this.
yeah.
Now, we do have a lot of people who are very Second Amendment motivated. And a lot of people, I believe, use the self-projectile tools that they have as a scapegoat to not getting physical and not learning how to physically fight. What would you say to kind of encourage them to do that? I mean, I would much rather see somebody hit a punching bag and skip all of their leg days, all of their workouts, just get into that punching bag, get into some sparring with people. I would rather see that than a gym routine, but that's just my personal opinion. What's yours as a martial arts instructor?
I can definitely agree with that, especially if again, there's a lot of people, that just, they don't even have the concept that something like that can happen to them.
Yeah.
And so, those people, I really don't know what to say, that's today's world, where everyone thinks like, yeah, we're in our glass bubble here. Nothing can happen to me, or that won't happen to me.
Right.
So I agree with you. If you've gotten the mindset of like, okay, I wanna be prepared, it's what you said, go hit the bag, just do what you can.
Yeah.
As far as that has to do, again, it goes back to like, know how to throw a strong, good, straight punch.
Okay.
You never know, and again, I think a big thing we teach too is your awareness. That's the biggest self-defense skill you can have is your situational awareness, knowing, trusting your gut, okay, that guy looks bad, I'm not going over next to that guy. I'm walking
Right.
in the mall, I wouldn't be going to the malls in our area right now. That'd be part of my awareness. I'm not going there. But if you have to, you're just constantly aware. You're checking your surroundings, and you're not letting anybody, get up that close to you where you would have to use, a punch or an elbow or something like that.
Yeah. And that plays into whether you have a self-defense weapon or that you have to get physical. If the closer somebody is to you, the less options you have.
Indeed. I fully agree with that.
Well, yeah, that's awesome. So, what's your average person? Do you see more kids involved as a hobby, or do the people come to your classes after they've had a negative experience out in public, or is it just people who want to partake in, bettering themselves?
So, we're very fortunate and have had some good success in the last year. So we've been able to be selective with who we let in. We are primarily a kids school.
Okay.
And the kids that we like helping out are the ones that, are getting bullied in school, lack some self-confidence, lack discipline or lack listening skills. And so it's a lot of, trying to instill some traditional character traits that again that is just going down the toilet. In the last 5 years, the kids that, I don't know what the devices and society, but the kids are just really, really going downhill with the behavioral, the mental illness, or I don't know if you want to call it that, but just the mentality that they have around their parents and authority and the, laziness. So we're real big into that. We're trying to, put some of that back into the world. As far as like with the adults, most of our adults are there to, they're there to learn practical self-defense, not necessarily after, they get beat up and then they come see us. Sometimes that's the kids.
Okay.
But the adults, or it's the ones that kind of see like, same thing as us, and kind of see the world is getting more and more scary and want to have, something to be prepared if something ever happened to them.
Now, I think a roadblock for a lot of people, or at least a hurdle for them, is they don't want to feel silly, right? So you might have a middle-aged woman doesn't want to feel silly going to a class, or you might have somebody even a little bit older doesn't want to feel silly, or maybe somebody who isn't in the best of shape doesn't want to look silly. What would you say to them to motivate them? Because it's a big part of self-motivation and working with other people to help motivate you. What would you say to them to get them involved in sparring with people or getting to a martial arts class?
If they're around our area, I tell them you just got to come check out the class, because we're all real silly, and we're all silly in our own ways here.
Okay.
And that's our class. We've got 6'8" guys that are 350 pounds, and we've got 5-foot girls that barely break 100 pounds. And anything, obviously your main techniques or your main arsenal are going to be different across those two body types,
Sure.
but there is something for everybody. There is, maybe this won't work for you, but it'll work for this guy, and it won't work for her, but it'll work for her. And that's what we try to figure out with each one individually. Like, what would be your best defense? Is it gouging their eyes out? Is it, doing some, wrist lock? Is it kicking them in the knee or in the groin? Or, so, I would say we all are silly and are working on our own demons. And, you gotta come do the first class. You gotta get yourself to do the first time and get through that. And I think a lot of people, at least in our experience, those nerves really, really calm down after, the first class.
Okay. That's perfect. Yeah, that's awesome.
Getting yourself just one time, not committing to it, but just one time, and just feel that empowerment, that what that feels like to hit a pad and to have someone that's smiling at you and helping you out. That's that's a very valuable thing, and I think that's hard for someone to like. Oh, I don't want to go back to that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
If it's a good
Okay.
place, I think you just got to get yourself to do the first one.
Yeah, just take that first step.
Yep, take the first step.
Okay, great. Now, before I let you go and take another caller, I have a question for you as a member of the prepper community or survivalist community. What is more dangerous in your personal opinion? Is it more dangerous to stay in a collapsing neighborhood environment or city environment, or is it more dangerous to have to travel through one of those environments to evacuate?
I may be biased on this because I moved out of my environment, my city environment, out into some land a few years ago,
Okay.
and got my own deal going there. So I might be a little bit biased, but I would think, my opinion, it'd be safer to try and traverse the collapsing, just neighborhood environment, whatever,
Okay.
rather than living in there trying to get out at the last second.
That's awesome.
I think with military over there, if you're living in Charlotte, and when they really want to crack down one of these days, that'll be tough.
Yeah, right. It is going to get bad quick.
In a place right now to begin with, it's tough driving on those streets already, getting out of that city. Again, my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. We did have a viewer question. IYQ2 says, do you have any tips for elderly ladies?
Elderly ladies,
does it become about force multipliers at that point in time, or
yeah, I'm always a proponent of, with everybody, force multipliers. I think everything you can add to your arsenal just it gives you more chances.
Okay.
But as far as elderly, I think the situational and your awareness and where you're choosing to put yourself, that's a big deal. I am a big proponent of the gray man. You try to look like, you're not wearing jewelry, you're not walking around with, expensive purses, and again, I think that's hard for some women. That's what they like.
Yeah,
But
right.
if this is about that would be my opinion. Your situation awareness, that always comes first. Your force multipliers. As far as going out in public, it depends on how elderly we're
You're talking
talking
about,
about here,
yeah.
and what mobility level that she has, and that's what I have to know to give her any like physical tips. But situational awareness, choosing where you're going to put yourself and what situation you're putting yourself in, and knowing what could happen, and then force multipliers.
And I also think as you get older, just like when you're younger, traveling with other people is always your best option, even if it's just going to the store, going to the bank, whatever.
Yes, sir. And that's something I didn't even think about right there. But I 100% agree with that. In fact, that's what I would suggest now that you said that is, you get someone to come with you, or you go with a group, if you can, you go with a group of friends. That's what my wife does, if you still got to go to the mall every couple of weeks. And if I'm not going with her, she's got to go with a group of friends, and she can't go by herself.
And then it just comes down to that's just reality, right? More eyes can see more problems. A bigger group is less targetable. Somebody in there is going to be a fighter, then it's just reality.
I agree.
Well, thank you so much. I
agree.
appreciate you calling in and giving really great tips to the entire community.
I appreciate you guys. I've watched you every day for I don't know how many years, and I hope you keep going because it's helped me on my journey and has influenced me greatly, and I really do appreciate you and Kelly.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you calling in, and you stay safe and keep that business going good.
Thank you, sir.
Have
a great night.
You too. Guys, those are absolutely amazing tips for people. Coming from a martial arts instructor on the ground in areas where they're seeing all of these events take place, knowing that communities are being affected and getting ready for larger events to take place. I think those are things that are important. You're on the air with Full Spectrum Survival. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I'm doing real good. What part of the country are you calling in from?
I live in Jersey. I'm driving to PA right now, but I work in Manhattan. My office is in the financial district. I shot at the stock exchange.
That's awesome. Okay. Could you tell me?
It's awesome in some ways.
Well, yeah, it's awesome that your business is there, but maybe not so much with what's going on. What's your personal opinion on Mandami?
It's going to be bad. And I think you have as much of an idea as probably anybody because you watch the news so much. But the homelessness is horrible. And if you're going to be turning vacant retail space in the subways into basically shelters, it's going to get really, really gnarly for people. It's bad as is. I have plenty of my horror stories. I'm only 24. Okay. I've been working with this company for about a year and a half. And I would say on top of that, though, since Trump's come in, you've definitely seen a cleanup. I've noticed an insane cleanup. I go to church in Midtown, or I used to when I lived in the city. I just moved out, and you've seen a huge cleanup in street vendors and people trying to scam you and things like that throughout the city since Trump's gotten in. I think a lot of people just self-selected and went out. We did some volunteer work in Queens, with my church group, basically in a Trendeiragua neighborhood, basically in Jackson Heights in Queens. And it was, we went there. We wanted to reach out to the people. Obviously, no one spoke English, so I wasn't of too much help on the outreach side of things. But a lot of it's cleaned up, which is good to see. I'd be very curious if things shift in that capacity, and it seems like they probably will. I guess one thing about New York, maybe that I could have, I wanted to share a juicy little tidbit with you.
Okay.
In a fictional universe, I work as an engineer, and in a fictional universe, I heard from one of our head electrical engineers at my company, a few years back, a woman was walking her dog, and the dog took a leak on a manhole cover.
Okay.
and the dog started shaking, and she was confused. She was like, "What's going on?" She went to go grab her dog, and they both died, shocked to death. So from electrical shock, and they did a very thorough investigation apparently in this fictional universe.
Okay.
And they found out that the grounding from the subways and a lot of the utilities in the city is extremely poor, and you have stray charge latent in the city.
Wow. Okay.
Now somebody got a payout, and I haven't heard too much else about it. But I would just say that, coupled with just how vulnerable the infrastructure is in Manhattan, as you have probably an idea, it is
it's crumbling.
It is a powder keg, and if
Yeah.
you had a very small disturbance or something from an electromagnetic pulse, I don't even know if it needs to be like thermonuclear grade or anything like that, but it would probably take very, 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 very little to really damage things.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And,
I think
the subways.
the electrical grid is one of those areas where we think everything's okay, but it is barely held together with duct tape.
Oh, absolutely. And then, most of our work over the past year, since I've been on, we've seen this huge transition. Most of our work, we're working on data center build outs and design. It is like quickly eating up half of our portfolio of work, even for a small company.
Yeah, that's why I don't even understand.
That is a stress on the grid.
Yeah, I don't even understand the end game there, other than that information has always been power. But they are willing right now to sacrifice your electricity and my electricity to feed these data centers, and we're going to subsidize them by higher prices.
Oh, 100%. And we're factoring all of that in. I mean, I would say there are clients that we have in the city that are very big, like top real estate developers in the city and owners.
Okay.
And they are staring down the barrel of a gun on price escalation in terms of their utility rates. And then obviously you even have steam, which that's not directly affected, but they're phasing that out still through this whole decarbonization thing. So the rates on those alone, you could be seeing a 10x over the next, 15 years apparently. And that is all of your heating really, and it can also provide electricity in a smaller instance, but it's not looking good. I mean, really the only thing we have is natural gas prices are projected to remain low.
Okay.
And I feel like it's a very tenuous thing, although we make a lot of it in the country. But yeah, it's electric rates, steam rates. There's a lot of people with a lot of money that would normally never think about these things for decades on end, and they are scared shitless.
Yeah,
I would say that.
That's what I'm seeing too. Yeah. What would you, with your take on not just the direction of the Northeast, but also the entire country, what would you kind of give a heads up to people and say, hey, this is kind of what you want to watch out for, or this is what area you feel like they should prep in?
Well, I definitely need to do a lot of my own work. I was hoping to maybe get some of your input on my personal situation, commuting in and out of New York every day. But I guess I would say one thing, and I don't know if I've heard you explicitly mention this, but you probably have, is The Great Taking by David Rogers Webb. He released a book. Have you heard about this?
What's the name of the book?
It's called The Great Taking, and it's basically
I've
in
heard
the 70s. Yeah, it's the dematerialization of everybody's, stocks, bonds, securities, largely, and 401ks and whatnot. I think from what I'm seeing, I went all into gold with all my money.
Nice.
In like 2023, which was smart. Maybe I just got lucky. I've done well on some other things, so maybe.
Yeah, you must. You're probably
kind of a side passion of mine.
You probably about doubled, right?
Oh yeah, over double. I think I got in at like 1860 something. And my first purchase was at 1900.
Awesome.
And then, or 1930, and so it's done well. And silver, I think, is a great opportunity right now, even though it's sitting at all-time highs.
Yeah.
But I guess one thing is the yen carry trade. You're seeing interest rates blow out in Japan, and that is maybe it's not a big deal for Japan because their central bank is on the hook for those bonds, but you're talking about it. There's something called the yen carry trade.
Yeah.
And you probably have heard about, and it's and that puts banks at a tremendous amount of risk. Basically, they are banking on the 40 years or whatever of an interest rate differential in the U.S. and Japanese markets, and they get like a tiny 3% return on this trade, but you have like hundreds of billions, trillions of dollars tied up in these derivatives. And in August of 2024, you began to see the carry trade unwinding with the interest rate spreads, and you saw a massive market sell-off. You started to see a little bit of a sell-off over the past couple of days on a similar event, and I would just say there's a lot of systemic risk financially. I personally have I liquidated probably about like half of my stocks over the past year. This is obviously, I can't give financial advice, but if things go under and they need to bail people out again, it's very likely, it seems to me, given things like the dematerialization of securities in your stocks, bonds, retirement accounts, that you might not see it for many years.
True.
And I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that is done prior to bigger infrastructural damage and false flags and things like that, because you put people immediately in a very scared state, desperate state. They might need to, their homes might foreclose on. I mean, the knock-on effects could be massive if you have a liquidity crisis, and that's what we're starting to see. I mean,
I personally think that silver is going to, you talked about gold and silver a little bit. I think silver will easily hit 150 as banks find that they have consumed all of the gold that they can. And then I think it's going to go up even higher than that.
Yeah, I mean, you have, I think it sits on the debt clock too, but there's a great guy, David Jensen. He's a market analyst. He's in the commodity space, and there are over 400 contracts for an ounce of silver, for every physical ounce of silver that is held at the vault in the vault in London called the LBMA.
Yeah.
So there's 400 passengers for every lifeboat on the Titanic.
Isn't that crazy?
I mean, that is criminal beyond belief.
Yeah, the fact that they oversell it.
And this manipulation was done to suppress the price of the metal because it used to be money in our currency, and they don't want people to realize that the currency has been bombed out and destroyed.
Yeah.
Right? Because, I mean, you used to have 90% silver coins back in the 60s.
Right.
And if you let that run, I mean, it would be a sign that the currency is completely lost. So, yeah, I mean, I think silver, for me personally, I mean, that's probably about like 40% of what I have. I mean, I don't have a ton of money. I'm just starting to work, the past few years.
Yeah.
Like in a professional capacity, but I love studying that market, and I mean, silver's out like how undervalued.
Yeah, I think silver is going to skyrocket. I think gold is going to keep going up, but we're going to reach the point where they realize they have oversold gold and the promise to actually get it physical. They're going to realize they've oversold those contracts and promises many times over, and people are going to lose their mind. I think that we're right on the very edge of that, and one of their quickest shifts will be trying to artificially hype up digital currency.
Oh yeah, I mean, you saw the did you report on that? What the Russian finance minister or advisor said about digital currencies in the U.S.'s plan?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The gold market and everything.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, that's a clear as day sign. I think one other great thing is who is drawing the metal out of the West.
Right.
And how does the West have so little metal? It's China and it's India, also to a large extent for the silver market. But they are just on a regular basis saying, we have a contract for gold that's sitting in your vault. Well, we're going to take delivery on it. You can keep the contract. We want the physical metal.
Right.
And they've just been doing that slowly but surely, and there's not anything there. I mean, and you saw in January, the delivery time was less than a week
Yeah, right.
less than a week tops for to get the physical metal if an entity wanted it, and it blew out to 90 days.
Yeah, and
That's default.
yeah,
They don't
exactly.
have it if that's default.
Right.
So you're right. It's tenuous. It's totally oversold, and it's that alone is enough to cause serious havoc. The thing is, apparently, retail buyers, the retail market in America, like common people, are net sellers of their precious metals.
Yeah.
So as China and India are buying it up, as central banks are buying it up, you know, Joe Smith American, you're selling on net.
Exactly.
People are selling their precious metals heading into this as the major banks, really the central banks and foreign entities like China are stocking up to record levels at record paces. So to me, that just seems like a recipe. That just seems so obvious that you're going to get rug pulled.
Yeah, and I think
And I don't
the
know.
problem we experience with that is that greed's always there. And because greed and power are always there, the people in power right now are more than willing to sell contracts that they can never fulfill. And because of that, they will just let this thing run all the way up to the point where the people who really pull the strings will get shifted, and then those shifts will cause them to send us into one of the biggest reclamation wars that we have ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, the derivatives market is $2 quadrillion.
Crazy.
That two quadrillion. So the global output, it's well below 100 trillion. I think it's like 20 trillion is global GDP.
Yeah.
So you're talking about like 50 years of the entire planet producing everything and putting it all of the output just to back the derivatives market today.
Yeah, right.
It is total greed. You're completely right. I mean, the question is does this thing get buoyed by robbing you and us of
Right.
everything we have
Yeah,
if you
right.
trust in the bank? And to me, that seems like, I mean, and the laws are on the books in the Uniform Commercial Code. There's a great documentary by the guy that wrote The Great Taking. It's called Stop It. He's a former hedge fund manager. He has lawyers, and they're going to state governments, and they're saying, we want you to change the laws on the books. I believe Tennessee did it. I think South Dakota did it, where if a bank goes under, or if and there's a liquidity crisis, and you can't withdraw your money from the bank, you can't get access to your 401k,
Right.
you can't get your stocks, your bonds, and your E-Trade account. Right now, the bank just takes it and uses it all to collateralize themselves. And I think in Tennessee and South Dakota, legislation was introduced. I think in South Dakota it was passed that said, no, the holder, the individual citizen, they are the first in line to get paid out. And the banking lobby came in and they said, we're going to stop doing business in your state. It is insane. So I would say one thing, right, if you're in a red state that has a chance of doing this, write to your local state representatives and tell them, watch the Great Taking documentary. They have resources on their website for letters that you can send them that have been crafted by attorneys, and you can hopefully get legislation introduced to protect your assets if things go down.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. I mean, that was just, I'm sure some people already know that, and it's a shot in the dark. I doubt that'll ever actually be allowed to happen.
Yeah.
But I think that, in my mind, even though I'm an engineer and a mechanical engineer, I work in a lot of large infrastructure projects. I think the biggest thing on my mind is the financial element to it. Maybe that's short-sighted, but I think it is a big deal, and it seems like you agree. So
Yeah,
maybe I'm
100%. No, yeah, we're literally facing the largest robbery of natural resource assets. We're facing the largest robbery of privatization, the largest robbery of promissory notes and promises to pay and contracts that have been sold that has ever happened in the history of Earth everywhere. So you couldn't even look at all of the falling empires in our past and add them all together to get to where we're at right now. It's worse than each one of those put together.
Yeah, man, and I'm commuting into New York every day on the train.
Yeah,
So look at how stupid I am.
well, you did speak about
Um,
like how to prep for that commute, and how long have you mapped out how long it would take you to get home if you didn't have access to any type of transportation?
Yeah, I mean, I have maps printed out. There's a couple options, I guess. I think you're talking about 35 miles, but you're going through the hood for a lot of it.
Okay.
So for the question you asked the last caller, there's detours I could take through state parks and things like that, and I think that would be a lot better if I get a jump on things before people go crazy. But that that puts it up to like closer to 50.
Okay.
And I think I've hiked in North Carolina and not in Pisgah Wilderness, if you know it, not the Smokies, but kind of north.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I've hiked 50 miles in a day. I was broken and like crapping my pants at the end of it, but I'm in shape. I think I could do it. I would just worry about getting shot.
Yeah, right. Do you have a carry home bag, like a get home bag that you take to work with you? Okay.
Yeah, I have that. It's got rations in it, some rations in it. I have 2 means to filter water. I have a med kit. I have blister pads for my feet. I have headlamps. I have things that I can bring with me to work and would not look like they would be force multipliers.
Okay.
But they are, would be in theory, right?
Yeah. Right.
But then I think I have some things. The biggest thing is there's choke points. It's like the tunnels, and I was like, that doesn't seem like a good idea to be going through that. And those got shut down on 9/11. So one thing I was thinking of, which is so probably foolish, because it's an island, Manhattan. One thing I was thinking of, I was a wrestler my whole life, but I did water polo. I'm a good swimmer. And I also was thinking, I got like a small, really portable wetsuit and flippers and goggles that can fit in my bag really easily. I don't have this giant bag that's making me a target. And I'm like, you could swim, and people do it. You could swim across the Hudson in less than 20 minutes.
Oh,
and I
that's
was
awesome.
like, I might just do that. I'm getting shot though, or something.
Well, and you could also add like a wet bag into that you could fill up with air to give you a little bit of a boost, so that you didn't have to make the whole swim. Relying on yourself, so you could just fill that air bag up and give you a little bit of a flotation there. But I think that you're well ahead of it. You know how long it takes you to get home. You're pretty situationally aware. You understand the dynamics of traveling through the maybe scarier areas, and then it just becomes about making that tough decision. Because just like back when the riots were happening during COVID and the riots that we have seen recently, or even the protests, you can kind of make that decision. Well, today I'm going to call in sick, or today I'm going to do this, and I'm just going to kind of let things play out and see what happens.
Yeah. I think that's where it kind of gets hard, because it's increasingly seeming like we're getting closer, and I'm like, I hope that I can judge things right. I mean, obviously, I try to tune in onto your updates. They're incredibly helpful, man. You have no idea. Doom scrolling so we don't have to, but it's really a service that you do, especially for people that are busy and trying to focus on their careers and advance themselves, and also be aware of everything that's happening. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, man.
But yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I think one thing I would hope to do is not be working in New York for much longer.
Okay, smart. Probably smart.
And I feel like that's probably the ultimate goal. One thing I will mention, the job market right now is horrible. I haven't been looking for a job since I got this one, but I know I have many friends that are chemical engineers, electrical engineers, and my one friend that's a chemical engineer, he's in a master's program right now, and 75% of the people cannot find a job.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like 70, and it's you're talking about a chemical engineering degree. I mean, and a master's at that, and it's like, and a guy that's done research and whatnot at a very good school, it's that's scary.
I hear a lot of people say that
white collar's getting destroyed.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. And I hear a lot of people that don't want to acknowledge how bad the workplace and the job force is right now. But when's the last time you heard of somebody upselling themselves because they just got into an even higher paying position for doing less work? It's been years since I've heard that. It used to be kind of common where people are like, I just got a better job. I don't have to do as much. It's great. That means that the job force was good. And right now the job force is so bad that everybody's taking less money for more work.
Totally. I mean, you're having, like I said, I have another friend, biologist, and he's looking for a year, can't find anything.
Yeah.
He's working as a lab tech right now. Like, he shouldn't be doing that. Like, he should be in a much better position, and that's what he's doing. And, my friend that went to study animation at NYU,
yeah,
working at McDonald's.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, and that was something that got destroyed. But you're totally right. I mean, we're a small company, and we don't want to hire right now, and everyone's overworked at my company, and we've turned down people with Ivy League degrees.
Yeah, that's
because
crazy.
we can't afford it.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. It's very scary. I think, obviously, in the light of all that, and isn't the goal to just become self-sufficient, to try to unplug from this and work? Like, I was honestly thinking, I'm like, I can get some land in upstate New York,
right,
cheap, and I could work in a frickin' Stewart's, convenience store
to make
and then
ends
just
meet.
try to homestead.
Yeah,
Homestead. And just homestead, and then, supplement income with that. And it's, but I'm like, do I really want to do that? That's scary. I'm making good money in the city, and it's it's hard to make that call, but I don't know what your input on that is. Is it should you be aggressive about trying to get self-sufficient lifestyle, even if it means, a period of really suffering and scraping by and having people tell you're crazy? Or is it better to try to build wealth, have a contingency plan, and be prepared as much as you can while being in a professional capacity in a city?
So let me tell you my two thought processes on this. First is take the money you can get when you can get it. If you can diversify your mental health and your physical well-being enough to keep pushing that other goal a little bit, because it's going to be much easier to finance that goal of a homestead or being a little bit more away from, the needs that everybody else have. If you can put the money into it, it's going to be much harder if you're struggling more to put that money into it. So my own personal goal, and I haven't told anybody this before, my personal goal that I was talking with family about is to be a cockroach. And what I mean by that is the cockroaches are always there. And let's face it, that the government considers us all cockroaches, right? But if you've got cockroaches living in your house, in your cupboards, what are you going to do? You're going to try to kill them all. But if you've got a cockroach outside, they exist, they don't even come into your house, that's the cockroach I want to be. I want to be the one who it lives outside of their reality. I don't need to come into their house for anything. I still do a little bit of barter or trade or whatever with that house to just get what I need or that I can't provide for myself or make myself with. Other than that, I'm the cockroach out in the woods that no one knows about.
Yeah. I mean, I think you can even deploy that thought process even if you're still in the world and in the city and in my position even. I'll try to incorporate that. I think another thing too is trying to start a family. I'm 24. I'm about to propose to my girlfriend.
Congratulations, man.
And
I hope she's not a watcher of the show.
No, she's not. She has so many amazing skills. She knows so much about herbalism.
Awesome.
And foraging and things like that. She's starting to teach me a little bit, which I think is amazing. She's, she sews, she does all these things. She doesn't really watch like the news and is like and all the doom, which I think is good. The conversations are never about politics, but she's like, for lack of a better word, she's based. Like her instincts are always in the right place. We go to church together.
Nice.
And I think that it's an awesome arrangement, but it's like, you want to get married, start a family on top of all this, it's scary. But I also know, tell me what you think. I feel like it probably doesn't make sense to wait because there's always going to be more of an excuse to put things off and wait, and try to plan. And it's like at a certain point, you kind of have to pull the trigger and hope the grace of God gets you through it,
Yeah,
and,
that's kind of my opinion. I wouldn't wait, honestly. When the time is right, of course, but I wouldn't wait because the ship is not getting any better anytime soon. We're just going to keep going downhill from here. But the way I look at it is if people can survive in slums in Africa and have a happy family, then I can do it no matter what situation we've got here. You just have to be ready to adjust your life to that situation.
Yeah, totally. That completely makes sense. And I think she's on the same page as that. She's not going to be expecting to be driving a Range Rover and things like that. A simple life is all I need, I think. It's hard. All my family they're on other sides of the country. Parents in Florida, and others in San Diego doing physics research, making like no money. And it's but I have one of my sisters here and her family, and they have a good head on their shoulders. But I definitely want to expand the community a little bit, and try to, like you were saying earlier, it's like you got traveling groups, like worse in numbers, and I think that's something else I'm trying to think about. So obviously, people from church it seems like a good idea. I'm going to a new church just because I moved in the past 6 months, so I'm going to try to find people through that. But I feel like I also have friends, maybe bad influence friends from high school, smoked and drank a lot and were just kind of, good guys, but they just were holding me back at the time. And they are trying to pull their money together and get land.
Okay, smart.
And I'm like,
so let me give a hot take.
And things and go for that.
Yeah. Let me give a hot take on that real quick. So the one is about building a group. It's probably a mutual assistance group or a prepper group or just people you can rely on is probably one of the most important parts of life away from the main traps that government and society put on human beings. And just having that group is super important. But the caveat to it is how important it is to test those group members. And what I mean by test them is not do anything wild, just make sure that they're actually going to come through for you and make sure when they call you, you'll come through for them. Because somebody who won't watch your dog while you're on your honeymoon that you're going to be on with your bride-to-be, then they're probably not going to come to you when somebody's, terrorizing the neighborhood. So just testing those group members. The second one is if you were to ever get into a mutual land ownership, make sure everybody ponies up the money first to divide the land and get a warranty deed for each half acre, quarter acre, full acre, whatever it might be. And that goes in the name of each individual person, because I've seen that and personally navigated that, and that's the way you just have to do it.
Okay, because otherwise, if anyone wants to sell, you get dragged down with them, or how does that work?
Yes, if they want to sell, if there's a dispute or a problem, if there's anything going on like that, then you're going to run into a big issue there. The biggest thing that you can do is make sure that everybody has their own. Let me give you an example. Okay, so you've got a group of really great friends. They've been great friends, for their entire life, grown up together. They've always had each other's back. Now they've become adults. They have marriages. They have kids. As soon as you're married and have a kid, that marriage and those children are the things that you are dutied with protecting for the rest of your life. And so you will always act in a way to protect those people. And that can cause a divide, because what somebody else wants to do in the prepper group or the land ownership group might not align with what you see as vital to your wife and your children. And so there can be some rifts that are created there. But if you own your piece and they own each one of their own pieces, even if those rifts exist, it doesn't matter, because now you're just neighbors. And if the divide becomes so big, now you have a piece of land you can sell to go move to an area that is better fitting with what you need.
Got it. That's actually really helpful. Because I think it is a divide within that group where it's like people where I call them up, not only would they watch my dog, but they'd probably, they'd clean my car in the driveway or something like that. Like they would go above and beyond. And then there's some people in that group that are like potheads, like they were in senior year of high school, and it's like, so and that's why I'm nervous about it. I'm like, well, then I'm going to be locked into an investment in land. I'm going to try to develop it, and then I'm going to be potentially in a bad position.
Yeah,
but I think if you
when the surveyor does the land, because every piece of land you get, you've got to have it surveyed. You don't technically have to by law, but you really need to for your own knowing where your boundaries are. So when it gets surveyed, it costs no extra to have that surveyor break it up into equally divided pieces. And even if it's just 1/10 of an acre, 1/20 of an acre, 1/4 acre, 1/2 acre, or whatever, having that piece that is warranty deeded into your name and each other investor into it, that's huge. And then making sure that you pay for it outright, because if you're each stuck into a mortgage for it, somebody's going to lose their job or decide they don't want to do it anymore or get caught up in something troublesome, and then everyone's got to pick up the slack.
Got it. Yeah, okay. That's going. I'm going to make a note on that. That's amazing advice. I didn't even think of any of that. Yeah, I mean, and like the other great thing is a couple of the guys, they hunt, and I think even if before, if we build anything on the land or anything like that, just using it in that capacity.
Oh yeah, that's
skills,
smart. Yeah,
I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, having a retreat location that's not a full-time housing location is awesome. Yeah.
That was a great thing to think about. I'm happy I went away with some encouragement and a nugget of wisdom there. Thank you again.
Well, thank you, man, for calling in. I really appreciate this. The viewers had a ton to think about in this. First of all, get into some precious metals if you can. Second of all, don't let what's happening in this world stop you from what you're driven to do as a man or a woman or just a human.
Yeah, it is a satanic thing. I mean, and what does Satan do? He wants to demoralize you. He wants to convince you there is no hope. He wants to.
Sounds like the government. The more you say Satan, the more it sounds like the government to me.
So funny. Isn't that a coincidence? What a coincidence. Oh, wow, man. Oh, that's awesome.
Well, thanks so much, man. I appreciate you calling in.
Yeah, thank you so much for the chance to talk, and best of luck to you and your family, and look forward to tuning in again this week.
Thank you, man. I hope you have a safe trip home.
I will. Take care.
Thanks. Good night. Guys, that is awesome. What a great live show. I love these call-ins because we can really hear what everybody's got going on and what's important. And we can dig through some of these issues like getting land ownership with other people and some of the caveats or the pitfalls that exist within that. We did see live on this show, some of the viewers started chiming in and they said, look, Marjorie Taylor Greene just announced her resignation after what was going on with Donald Trump. That we're going to see a lot of fallout with the direction that the Republican and Trump-led government is going in right now. You're already seeing calls for sedition. You're already seeing a lot. Yeah, did she resign on her own, or did she get threatened, said Cree Dog. That's an interesting question that we will never know the answer to. But we are going to see a lot of fallout from this in the near future. I'm here to watch these events. We talk about them. We get a better direction for us and our families, because who knows where we're going to be at tomorrow, a month from now, or as we enter 2026. They already said money is not going to get better until next year. And that to me is the same lie that I heard them say with inflation back in 2022. In 2022, they told us inflation was coming down next quarter. And then it was, well, maybe at the end of this year. And then it was next year. And then it was the next year. And now they're saying inflation's better than ever. But I see nothing but worse. So we're all navigating this together, guys. I really love these live shows. Thank you so much for being a part of them in the chat. Thank everybody for the super chats and everything that you do to help me and my family. Really appreciate each one of you. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up here. Maybe we can come back on one tomorrow or the next day. Thanks for Desmond for being in there in our moderation capacity. Maybe we can have him on in a near future. Guys, from my family to yours, please stay safe, and we'll see you tomorrow in the morning broadcast and the 2 p.m. broadcast. But until then, remain vigilant and keep watch.